Real Reddit stories from r/ProRevenge. Story 1. I got fired from my job but received a year's worth of pay and got my boss fired. This happened in the early 2010s, before the advancement of technology in video editing and content creation. I was hired as a content creator for a university that wanted to leverage YouTube to kickstart their branding campaign. The pay was low, roughly $2,200, and in those days, there were not that many video content creators around, and the process usually took a long time from start to finish. I was hired, and on my second day, my manager presented my KPI of 85 3 to 10-minute videos in 52 weeks, which was impossible for a one-man team in those days. This meant I had to do the scripting, producing, casting, shooting, composing music, and editing, all of which I had to use my own equipment and software because their cameras and computers were so old they simply couldn't handle the strain of even doing things in 720p, much less 1080p. I tried to let my manager know, but she just smiled encouragingly, telling me to give it a try, assuring me if the videos were good, the quantity would not be what she focused on. Hearing this, I agreed to give it a try. My manager treated me well in the first month. However, one day when she found out I was a smoker, her attitude changed overnight. A colleague had actually done a facepalm when I told her about it, and she let me know that the manager hated smokers and often advocated to get them fired. She started nitpicking me on everything, from smelling like cigarette smoke after my breaks, coming in 5 to 10 minutes late despite doing more than 4 hours of overtime daily, not being contactable during break times. The list goes on. But I soldiered on because I just wanted to do the work and do it well. 5 months in, I was called into the director's office where I saw my manager putting on her best displeased but gleeful face, and I felt my stomach drop. The director told me that she was disappointed because she had heard that I was falling behind on my work, and it was already halfway through the year and I had only completed 30 out of my 85 videos. I tried to explain that I had been working my butt off on these videos. I literally worked 6 days out of the week, over 60 hours just to do what needed to be done, and that being a one-man army made things impossible. And also the fact that the videos I had put up grossed the highest views ever on their YouTube page. I also recounted how my manager said that she was looking for quality videos over quantity. The director dismissed this and stated that the KPI was simply 85 videos in a year, and since it was almost half a year in with my numbers at less than half, she felt it prudent to cut the cord early. I asked how would they even meet the KPI if they were to fire me. Now my manager had snorted, saying, "We'll find a professional production house to finish your work." The director had given her an odd look, but nodded in her support nonetheless, telling me, "You don't need to worry, manager will get the job done." That was when a light bulb went off in my head. Seeing as I was the content professional in the office, one of my jobs was to keep a database of production houses to use in the event we needed to do a shoot that required more resources. And I was sure that they would be using the production houses in my database as my manager had no contacts in the production industry. So I changed the contact numbers and messed up all the emails on all of the entries except one. The one I didn't change was where I had a friend working as a junior director. Not an assistant director, but a director assigned to smaller video projects. I gave him a call and told him of my plan, and sure enough, within 2 days, they were called to come in to pitch. I told him that I had a plan that was a win-win for us. It would instantly help him and put him on the fast track to a director position by bringing in a lot of business to his production house, and it would also benefit me financially. I would teach him exactly how to pitch to win over the boss and the director, and in turn, his company would pay me a standard finder's fee of 15%. He agreed instantly and immediately put me on the line with his general manager, who, upon realizing this was to be 6 months of work for a high 6-digit payout, instantly agreed and drew up a contract. As it turns out, after I gave them a metaphorical step-by-step playbook, They were the perfect fit, somehow understanding the needs and style of the university as well as the sort of themes the university wanted to feature. The director and my former boss were amazed that my friend's production house was so familiar with their content that they signed them up on the spot. Now, even back then, using a production house was not cheap. Each video that they produced could cost double to triple my monthly salary, given that they had specialized people for each function. But this meant that they could complete a video every 2 to 3 days. So yes, they produced 50 videos in a span of 4 months for over 100 months of my salary, and I sat back and collected the healthy 15%, which was about 15 months of my salary. This allowed me to put money aside for a holiday and the rest to further my studies with a respected film school overseas. I thought my plan ended here and I had gotten back at my former bosses, but to my surprise, I received a call from my colleague while I was holidaying in Bali one day. This was the same colleague who had facepalmed when I told her that my manager had found out that I was a smoker. She told me that my former manager had been fired, and my director had been given a massive blasting by the chancellor of the university. The content creation project which I was hired for was only given a budget equating to about 1.5 years of my salary, and they had exceeded that budget by over 10 times. My former manager was so desperate to ensure that her content creation project could be completed that she had thrown caution to the wind, paying anything to get the job done so that she could show my director that she had completed the project and had approved the massive spend without getting consent from the director. So that is how I got my friend a super-fast promotion to a full director in his production house and a year of pay after getting unfairly fired from my job. Story 2. A lunch thief's just dessert. Years ago, I had a lunch thief at work. After the 12th time complaining to HR about people stealing my lunch, I was seething. Not a damn thing was being done, and I still had to go buy something to eat. I was bitching to my doctor at the yearly checkup, and he got a smile. He said, "So you're constipated then?" I was dumb and said, "No, why?" He wrote me a prescription for some crazy laxatives with instructions to mix it in with your meal for maximum effect. At which point I knew the plan. I wish I could say they shat their pants, but no, they ate my sandwich with special avocado sauce. About an hour after lunch, I went to HR and reported 2 things. 1, my lunch was stolen again, and 2, my medication was stolen. HR said, "So you got hit by the lunch thief again and your medicine was in the bag?" I said, "Yes, I have had some digestive problems, and my doctor prescribed a powerful laxative and advised me to mix it in with my midday meal." HR went white. "You what?" I smiled and said, "I mixed in a prescription-grade laxative with my food according to my doctor's orders." Well, being that stealing prescribed medication is a criminal offense, the police were called. They found the lead man in a department over, absolutely shitting his brains out. He was furious and accused me of poisoning his food. I asked, "At which point did you get the idea that the food was for you? And furthermore, now I no longer have my medication I was prescribed for my condition." It was about this time he knew he screwed up and shut his mouth until he got a lawyer. Or so I'm told. It was a small town. One of my buddies from high school took his job. Now I can make and eat my sandwiches in peace, and I have no clue where the lunch thief went after his fines and community service. Story 3. My landlord put me through 3 years of hell. My landlord was a terrible human being. Honestly, calling him a human is even pushing it. These are just a few things he has done to me over the past 3 years. Stole my dryer and other household products that are in a common area. Made me pay for a plumbing repair which was deemed normal wear and tear. Tried breaking into my house. Retaliated against me because I went to my lawyer after he sent me a letter about a parking spot. He tried charging me an extra $150 per month. Mind you, I was never late for rent in 3 years, except for when he made me pay for the plumbing repair. So the next month I was a couple days late. The list goes on. Now, this apartment was nowhere near nice. I found out the plumbing was illegal, the porch has severe safety issues, the ceiling paint was always falling down, the gas heater was not up to code, and so on. I finally got my chance to leave after he wanted to raise my rent by $500 per month. He will do anything to get more money out of his tenants. So I called the building inspector 4 days before I left. I told him everything. The porch didn't have a permit and was definitely not up to code. I told him about the plumbing and the heater. I went on and on. The inspector came over the very next day. I saw him taking measurements. Each violation is a $500 per day fine until it's fixed. I honestly don't know what happened, but my God, did it feel good to finally get him back. At the very least, he's now on the town's radar. A week before I moved out, he tried telling me I needed to be out at a specific time. I never responded, and where I lived, that's not how it works. He tried to threaten me with the police if I wasn't gone. Well, I went to the police myself that morning to warn them. The landlord did come by to threaten and harass me. I called the police, and they informed him I was in the right. Long story short, he had broken into my apartment while I was gone. He nailed my door shut. I told the police to get the supervisor because I was done being harassed by this guy. Go figure, he left before the supervisor could get there. I'm positive he knew he'd be arrested on sight. I got the police report. They're charging him with a felony for breaking and entering. Fines plus a charge. Don't be a jerk to good people. Subscribe to hear more stories like this.